No matter the circumstances that you're coming from, are in presently, or going towards, all you have to do is be you. I wrote some more in my notes today, and I wrote, yourself is all you have. So why not enjoy being you? Change isn't instantaneous. So why not love yourself while changing? And to further this point, from Romans 12:6, it says, having then gifts, differing according to the grace that is given to us, let us use them. If prophesy, let us prophesy in proportion to our faith. Meaning, let us use what God has given us. Be you. Be you fully, right? And I said here that live a life befitting to yourself. I think one of the reasons why it's difficult to be you, and sometimes difficult to be myself, is because we constantly are looking for validation in something else. When we're in certain situations, we don't see ourselves befitting to be able to handle these certain situations, or to be able to accomplish the things that we're wanting to accomplish, or the goal itself, while still being us. And don't get me wrong, your new life is going to cost you your old one, sure, but it's still your life. Trying to become her, or trying to become him, is going to lead you to living a life that's more befitting towards them, not you. And the thing about it is, you can be an average someone else, but you can become a phenomenal you. Like, I can be an average you, or I can be a phenomenal me. I can use the gifts that God has given me through grace to do what he has called me to do the goals and the plans that my heart has, that my heart is set on. Or I can try to be you. And what I mean when I say live a life befitting to you, or to yourself, is living a life that feels like you. I think many times we don't know who we are because we're living a life that's not in alignment with who we are. We're confusing ourselves by our actions on a continual basis. We're consistently confusing ourselves because we're not living as ourselves. Some of us are the most ambitious. Some of us are the most spontaneous people. Some of us are more conserved, are more shy, but yet challenge ourselves. But we're not living lives befitting to that. And along the way, you lose you because you forget who you are. And all you have to do is be you, is really saying, rather than resist, accept. Accept where you are, accept who you are. That way, no matter the circumstances that you're coming from, are in currently, or headed towards, you realize that all you have to do is be you. And in the validity of that, it almost is like confirmation. It's almost like confirmation that if I'm going to have to live a life and all I have to do is be me, then I have to start loving myself. I have to love who I am. If I'm going to enter these certain situations, or if I'm going to live this life that is mine, I have to love the one who is living it. Because regardless of the material things, regardless of what you're thinking, all these other things that I feel like sometimes can be external. Even our internal thoughts can always be focused on the external, or on the external versions of ourselves, or the things that we think can make us who we want to be, instead of actually accepting who we are. It allows us to know that it's okay that we can just be us. That we don't have to put on a mask. That we don't have to force anything. We can live a life without force. That we can just be us. That you can just be you. And not only just be you, but love yourself while you're changing. If change is something that you're pursuing, love yourself while you're in the midst of it. While you're going through the metamorphosis, while you're going through the transformation, understand that every stage of it is beautiful, that every stage of you is already worthy. It's already valuable. We resist us so much in the pursuit of something else or someone else as if it's better. But you are everything. Even your perception, even your perspective of those things come from you. If you believe that those things are better, if you believe that that person is better than they are, but it's only because you believe it. It's like that saying that most people think that the grass is greener on the other side. But then when you hear the full saying, you realize that, but truly the grass is just greener where you water it. And I feel like that's something that we should embody. That if you don't love you, it doesn't matter where you go. It doesn't matter the location, doesn't matter the things that you possess. If the lack of love if there's a lack of love, then where are you to gain? It doesn't matter what you gain, other than you'll still lack. And if you're focused on the things that you lack, you lose all there is to gain. I think that's a better way to say it. If we're so focused on everything that we lack, we lose all that there is to gain. I said here as well that many times we resist who we are in the pursuit of something or someone better, but we are everything. You can't run away from yourself. You can only suppress. But rather than suppress, why not free yourself? Because abundance is a mentality. Abundance is a mentality. It's not the number of possessions, but how much you can hold. Possessions, but how much you can hold. Abundance isn't the amount that you have, but the capacity to hold. And what I'm trying to help you understand as I'm learning more and more myself is that before you try to gain anything else, free yourself. I think I said it a couple of days ago, but you have to free yourself from yourself. But even in the pursuit of taking off the chains, right, or taking off the shackles, we realize that the chains were already broken. When we take off the shackles, we realize the chains were already broken. We were the ones just holding ourselves in captivity the entire time. We were the ones suppressing ourselves the entire time. And I don't mean to get, I don't mean to get so gloomy on it, but really what I'm just referring to is the art of self-love, loving thyself. I think it's difficult to love anyone else if you can't experience that love for yourself by yourself. Yeah. And I think that's why we start taking that baggage into other relationships, or we start taking that baggage into other experiences. And that's where that discomfort starts to seep in. That's where that insecurity starts to seep in. And now we're operating in insecurity instead of blessings. Now we're operating in insecurity instead of promises. for greater things. We no longer operate in our gifts. We're just trying to peek over and see what everybody else got, and then act accordingly. I think we're in a generation right now, or maybe just a time, where there's so much thinking happening for us that we don't know how to think for ourselves. So we constantly are living in unconsciousness, because when we have to think, we ask something else to do it for us. When we have questions, we ask something else to answer, when you are the answer. You are everything. You are the solution to it. And most of the time, you already know the answer, but you have just not been willing to let yourself be free enough to become the solution. You have the question, but you are also the solution. You are the answer to your question. Everything that you do needs you. And this is why we can't step into situations or circumstances or rooms of opportunity not being us. See, I think it was very intentional, to be honest. I know it's very intentional why we serve a God, or even just God being our creator, and why none of us have the same fingerprints. None of us who are here, have gone, or will come, will ever share the same amount or share the same fingerprints. We don't have it. Even twins, identical twins, don't even share the same fingerprints, letting us know that we were uniquely made and designed to be individuals. But also letting us know that because there's so much conformity happening in this world right now, that there's so many other people who are suppressing, so many other people who are resisting instead of accepting. And I think we admire, another thing where I know we do, we admire those who are willing to be themselves. We call those our thought leaders. We call those our artists. We call those our influencers. We call those our activists, our generational curse breakers, our revolutionaries. But really, those are just people who aren't afraid to be themselves. Just like we shouldn't be afraid to be ourselves. Everything starts with who you become, or who you try to become. And unfortunately, a lot of times that becoming is not of yourself. You no longer are living a life befitting of you, because you're not trying to live a life that is you. So you get stuck on this external reward and what that looks like and who gets to be able to obtain that. And it goes back to the comparison being the thief of joy. Living in reference and referring outside of self. Looking at someone else that has possessed something that you want and then saying, I need to be more like that person to be able to achieve it. Instead of stepping more into who you are and attracting it. Living like you already have it, like you already possess it. Because I think when you really clear your mind fully and are now conscious, you realize that you have all the answers to your problems, and all you have to do is act on them. If you want to be healthier, you know exactly what you must do. You must no longer be, I've been saying this since the beginning of this year, but it's no longer just being a spectator, but being an active participant into your life, right? You have to step and get into the driver's seat. If you want to be healthier, you have to make the decisions. And we know the decisions. You know the decision. You know that you have to change diet. You know that you have to become more active. You know. So now it's just time to be you. You know what it takes to do this and to do that. It just takes you showing up as yourself. It takes me back to what I was saying in the beginning, to love yourself while you're changing. You can love you while you're changing. While you're going through the metamorphosis, while you're going through the growing pains, you can validate yourself. You can affirm yourself. I've been saying this, another thing, pretty often. And it started just seeping into these videos. And it's just the fact that the path never needs affirmation, only the self. But I feel like I would be remiss if I didn't say it in this video. To give yourself the affirmation. To start being the change. Be the change that you want to see. And it doesn't mean that you can't still be you. I don't think when you need to change, it means become someone else. It just means that good can always become better. It just means that you can become the version of yourself that you've been wanting to become without having to become someone else. It means that you can upgrade. It means that you can improve. It doesn't mean that you're not worthy now. I think the simple fact that we have the ability to adapt to certain situations, or to be able to mold ourselves, to change our habits and our patterns to lead us to the things that we want so that we can increase to the level that we want to go to, shows us how valuable it is to be you, to be ourselves. That we have the ability, I think as a human, that's our superpower, the ability to adapt. That we don't have to conform. And I say that too, because maybe that needs a little bit more preference. The fact that adapting isn't conformity. Adapting just means being willing to change to the environment or to certain situations that are required for survival. I think that's more scientific. But if we're just staying on where we want to go, the ability to know that if I want to go to a higher level, that it takes more work. It takes a higher, to whom much is given, much is required. I think it sums that up. To whom much is given, much is required. If you want more, before you can even go get more, you need more capacity. So it's becoming that person now. You don't just become 5 years down the road and what you envision yourself to be 5 years down the road. It starts now. The future happens now. Being in the present, being conscious of it too. I hope I expressed that as much as I wanted it to come across. But all I'm really saying is that you can't achieve the future by living in the future. You have to be present in who you are now. No need to reference the past. Just learn from it. But you don't have to compare yourself to who you used to be, good or bad, nor do you need to compare yourself to something or someone else outside of yourself. Because you have the answers for you. And no amount of motivation, no amount of reward can ever truly make you do something. And I think we're realizing that. I think we are. I think when you really start, I think the older we get, the more we realize how much we said that we wanted to change. But now we're becoming more present in these new beginnings of the year. And we realize that not much has changed just because I said I wanted to change. But I love it. I love the idea that if we go back to the minds of when we were kids, we never thought we had to change. More so, we never thought we had to be anything more than who we are. That we could just show up, and maybe I'm just speaking out of my own perspective. But I always thought I could just be me. Even if I wasn't being me fully, like I think conformity does happen. I think that's just how it works with society, right? You conform to certain environments and behaviors and stuff. But I always felt like I was me and that I was okay being me. It isn't until I get older that I realize that the idea starts seeping into my mind that being me isn't enough. That I have to become something so much more to be worthy of so much more. But now, as I'm becoming more aware, as my awareness is increasing, as I am now understanding more, I can't be more if I'm not being myself. It just takes me, just like it just takes you to be you in every circumstance, no matter present or no matter past, present, or future. You're always going to need you because you can't run away from you. You can only suppress you. But I'm touching time here, so I appreciate you if you made it to the end of this video. I really do. I'm working on being more consistent. And I realized that being more consistent doesn't just mean saying I want to be consistent, but it means just being me, showing up as much as necessary, as much as what is required to be the person that I want to be. To take myself to the level that I want to take myself to requires me to come along the journey. And to now start appreciating the journey, not for the external reward, but because I always felt like I was worthy of the expression. Because I always knew that I had a gift to express. So hopefully me sharing these things is helping you on your journey as well. And if not, I appreciate you. Even if you don't like these videos, I do. So I appreciate you even more. But I'll see y'all tomorrow. Love.